Hello, hello, hello. This is Ellie, and you're listening to my digital diary. We're on episode 5, ladies and gentlemen, and for this episode, we are taking a bit of a different turn. And I won't really get into it yet because there's something else big that we need to do first. So just know that looking at the title, this may not be your cup of tea. If, you're not really interested in this topic, don't feel like you have to listen, but maybe you'll learn something new, and maybe this will be a fun journey listening to this episode. So, happy belated Easter. I hope you all had a great Easter weekend, and I hope that you got to spend some time with family. So, let's kind of get started here. I don't really have much to catch you up on. So, for the Expanding My Taste segment, guys, I'm so nervous. I am actually, sick to my stomach. You all are going to think this is crazy, but I may have said this on a previous episode. I have never tried soda before in my entire life. And I have in front of me 4 small Sonic drinks. One being Coke, one being Dr. Pepper, one being root beer, and one being Sprite. And I'm going to be trying them today. For the first time ever in my entire life. I have technically had sips of Sprite and I spit it right out because people think that I want Sprite instead of water. And I've tried the root beer Dum Dum Sucker, which sucks. It's so gross. So I'm just really nervous. I'm actually going to get a big glass of ice water, hopefully to settle my stomach, because guys, I kind of think I have ARFID. And that might be our next topic of discussion because, I'm genuinely, wanting to throw up now, and I haven't even, tasted anything. So let me go get a drink of water. Yeah. I also grabbed a cup in case I need to spit it out. Oh, I'm so nervous. So kind of my background with carbonated drinks. I was not allowed to drink soda growing up. And then, once I was trying Sprite, I was like, well, if I don't like Sprite, why would I like anything else? The bubbles just made me feel like I was drowning and, having a slow, painful death. And now, my first integration of carbonated drinks was Seagram's and, some of those, wine cooler type drinks. And then I got into, some energy drinks like Celsius, Alani, now Bloom, which I honestly don't feel like Bloom is that carbonated at all, if it is at all. But what I've heard is that the carbonation in soda is so much more than in other drinks. I have tried some Poppy, I've tried some Olipop, I've tried, strawberry soda, grape soda, things like that. But when it comes to, these main types of soda, I've never tried them. At least, to get the taste. Now, Coke, Dr. Pepper, and root beer, I've never had in my mouth ever in my life. I have no clue what Coke and Dr. Pepper could ever taste like. Because I was asking my friends, I'm like, does it taste like chocolate? Does it taste like fruit? They said no to both of those. So I'm like, what other options are there? I don't understand. And I'm just procrastinating because I'm really nervous. Oh my gosh. Okay. I did tell my friends that I would record visual. My phone's also at 6%. Love that. I also happened to lose one of my chargers over Easter weekend, so that's awesome. I'm gonna see if I can record this without plugging my phone in. I also got some groovy fries from Sonic as a reward for getting out of my comfort zone. Now, I will say, even if I'm this is the best drink I've ever tasted, I'm not really trying to add sodas into my everyday diet, but it's just girl, you can't say you hate soda if you never tried it. That's kind of the theme of this segment of the podcast. So, oh god, I just want to do anything else. I'd rather eat literally like asparagus or like Brussels sprouts or like okay. Okay. Deep breath in. Guys, this is nerve-wracking. Okay, I'm setting up the camera. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. All right. The worst. Okay, I'm gonna tell myself. The worst thing that could happen is I throw up and we just stop the podcast for the night. It's not like I'm gonna have like an upset stomach all night or even like the rest of my life. Like that's the panic, is like the uncomfort level is going to stick around forever, which is like genuinely not the case. Okay. Okay. We're gonna start with. Should we start with Sprite? That's like baby stepping it. I even hate the smell of Coke and Dr. Pepper. So this is gonna be awesome. Okay. I'm gonna use water as a freaking chaser. Okay. Here's Sprite. This is probably just gonna hurt my mouth and then I'll swallow it or maybe spit it out. Okay, okay. Okay, you're fine. You're fine. Okay, wow. Wait, hold on. That's really not that carbonated. I mean, it's fine. It has a weird tang to it. Okay. I'm gonna give Sprite a 4 out of 10. I would never drink it again. Because to me, my drink needs to be something that's like plain and cold to like wash all the flavor out of my mouth in between rounds of eating. It's refreshing, but it has a weird tang to it. I also just found out not that long ago that Sprite doesn't have caffeine in it. That's why like kids are sometimes it's like Sprite's the only drink that they'll allow their kids to eat. I'm gonna take a groovy fry break as like a reward. I wish these were hot. It's fine. Okay. Okay, now the hard ones. Okay, I genuinely feel a lot better going to these other ones because Sprite was so tame. Okay, now we're gonna try Coke. I genuinely, I was on the phone with my friend right before this, and she was like, "It just kind of leaves a sticky taste on your teeth." Like, ew. You can't see me, but I'm like freaking out. Okay. Coke. And I almost got Diet Coke too, but to me, I'm like, how different could they really taste? But some people really taste the difference. But I'm also like, you've been drinking soda your whole life. I just need to know what the taste of pop is. Genuinely. Okay. 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 I'm gonna do it. First time ever. This feels like walking on the moon. To me, this is my Neil Armstrong moment. Like, okay, okay. There's no turning back. There's literally no turning back. Okay, I will say I've had a rum and Coke, but again, it's like a splash of Coke. Oh god, okay. Coke just tastes like lime to me. Oh, okay. Okay, the bubbles are not killing me. All I taste is the lime. on that. What is... I'm going to look up the legitimate flavors of these things later. I'll give... That's not what I was expecting. I don't know what to expect, but that's not what I was expecting. Maybe it's from the Sprite. Maybe that's why I'm tasting it. I'll give that a 5 out of 10. Like, do I want to sip it again? No, for the sake of my stomach. But I'm like, I feel like I need another drink to really know what it tastes like, but I'm already, like, it's like it wasn't bad, but, like, my stomach's like, okay, now we throw this up. Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna throw up. Have another groovy I'm gonna have another groovy fry. As a reward. Okay. So, okay, I'll give Coke 5 out of 10. Dr. Pepper. Now, this is the drink they say has 23 flavors in it. What could that possibly mean? I have no idea. There's definitely a cult following around Diet Coke and around Dr. Pepper. So, oh my god. Okay. The carbonation's not gonna kill me. It would just be the taste, if anything. Okay. It's fine. My stomach is like doing cartwheels. Okay, I'm tasting Dr. Pepper for the first time in my entire life. Wait, why is that good? To me, it tastes like cherry. Uh-oh. That's really good. To me, all I taste is cherry. Guys, oh no. Okay. That's really good. I might have to give that like a 7 out of 10. 8 out of 10 maybe. It to me that tastes like a cherry slush Alani. That's so weird. Like these soda tastes fruity, guys. To me, this is okay. Now I really don't want to try root beer because these have been good. But I'm also like, are these flat? Because I'm like, isn't it supposed to be like really carbonated? Maybe I'm just really used to carbonation now. Because honestly, Alani's taste more carbonated than this. Now I have a feeling I'm gonna hate root beer because of me hating the taste of the Dum Dum suckers that are root beer flavored. Oh god, okay. Anxiety's back, okay. Push it down. Okay, more groovy fries. I'm doing good. I wish I had someone to hold my hand. It's fine. I'm genuinely so proud of myself. Like, do I want to order a soda at a restaurant? No. But, like, if that was the only thing available to drink and they only had tap water and I don't drink tap water, I would drink this, I think. Okay. Last one before my phone probably dies. Okay. We're fine. Root beer's gonna probably taste bad. And then it's gonna be over. And then we're gonna move on to breaking news. Okay, just get through it. Yeah. Gross. Ew. Nasty. That's like black licorice. That's dumb. Why would anyone like that? Anyway. Okay. I am. Ew. Yep. I knew I would hate that. But it's over? Did I throw up? No. So yeah. I looked up the flavors of Coke and Dr. Pepper. And here's what I got. So, Wikipedia says that the flavor is cola, which is cola nut, citrus, cinnamon, and vanilla, which I did not get cinnamon. I hate cinnamon. But I definitely got, what did I say, lime, I think? I got the lime flavor. I don't really know what cola nuts taste like, but I guess that. And then Dr. Pepper, it's described as a spiced cola with a complex blend of sweet, herbal, and spicy notes. With exactly 23 flavors, it's a closely guarded secret, same with Coke. Common descriptions include cherry, vanilla, citrus, and cola. Many people detect cherry as well as plum and blackberry. See, whenever I ask people, what does soda taste like? And I'm like, is it like fruity? And they're like, no. And I'm like, guys, it is fruity. Oh, I mean, Reddit seems to have the 23 flavors. But I'm like, I don't really believe Reddit ever. So, okay. There we go. I am so proud of myself. Part of me, you know what? I just got a really good idea. Part of me wants to get like a Girl Scouts sash and like have different badges based on the different foods I try. Guys, I have to make this happen. Now, am I savvy with a sewing machine? No. But I'm like, someone out there has to be good at that. Now, do I have the money to pay someone to do it for me? No. But it's a dream. I'll make a digital one, I guess. That's so boring. But yeah, so anyway, that's really all I've got for expanding my taste. That was really difficult for me. I really had a hard time with that, but it ended up being that these sodas are nothing to be afraid of, except for root beer. Root beer is nasty. Don't ever have root beer. It's gross. I mean, all of you probably have, but... So, my breaking news segment for this week's podcast is all about the papacy, Pope Francis's death, and his life, and what this all really is. Because I'm a Christian, and I have never really, like, I've been to Mass I can count on one hand how many times I've been to Mass, and it was for my grandparents and my aunts and uncles. Sometimes we would visit their church, but I never really understood the point of a pope. I kept getting him mixed up with the prime minister, and like I knew that it was Pope Francis, that was his name, but I didn't really understand the point of it, and so I felt like this was breaking news enough to have this be this week's episode theme. And so I'm going to kind of break down what the papacy is, Pope Francis's road to becoming the Pope, and then his death. And so, and then like his life as the Pope, like some common themes in his death and his will and things like that. So yeah, let's get started with my sources. I have Britannica, the Vatican website, PBS, BBC, and NPR, because your girl's not going to use Wikipedia or Reddit. Thank you very much. Now, I will say, ChatGPT did help me understand some of what I read on some of those websites, because when you've never heard some of these titles before, it's like, whoa, you have to explain to me what that title even is in his biography. So thank the Lord for ChatGPT, because I could not have gotten as far as I have without it. And really, like, that's a whole other thing. I don't feel like it's a crutch. I use it to help me understand what I'm already doing. I don't have it do work for me, unless it's like a worksheet for my kids. I don't use it to write papers and crap like that. We didn't have that when I was in college. So, anyway, let's talk about it. So we have the origin of the papacy. So it comes as a direct line from the apostles of Jesus Christ to now, which I did not know. It starts, I want to say it's the Petrin theory, maybe the Petrin theory. It states that Jesus designated St. Peter the apostle to be his representative on earth and the leader of the church. It also states that Peter's ministry would be passed down to the Catholic bishops of Rome. Peter's known to have been the first pope, which, gosh, I did not know that. Like, I'm reading through the New Testament. I'm almost done with the New Testament, and I'm like, gosh, do I need to, like, reread Acts? Like, what is going on? So, yeah, I don't know how I didn't know that. And then as it goes along, so each bishop represents each bishop confirms church members, ordains priests, consecrates other bishops, and rules over the clergy and church members in their area. So that's kind of the role of a bishop. And we will kind of talk more about, like, the different levels in the Catholic Church as we get to Pope Francis's life, because that was definitely a journey, and I had to research a lot of things to understand it. So we'll get there. So yeah, that's kind of the origin of there being a pope in the Catholic Church. It's like basically from the jump of, I guess, Catholicism came from St. Peter. Let me just stop. I'm going to preface all of this by saying, yes, I did research on reputable sources, on reputable websites, but this isn't like 2 hours of research, and it's like decades and decades of history, and so I'm kind of inspired by Right Answers mostly. It's a podcast. It's like everything you wanted to learn about history, but you didn't in high school or whatever. And so I have mostly right answers. If there is something that I say that's incorrect, please put it down in the comments. I don't want to be spreading false information, but I'm going to preface this by saying I hope that this is all correct. And I'm coming from a good place. I'm also coming from a place where I'm not the expert on this, but this is kind of my journey of, I feel like as a young adult, this is a major moment in history. I want to say the Pope has been the Pope my whole life. Oh, mostly. No. For like half my life. For half my life. And so, I feel like I should know about this part of the world. Somewhere in here it says that there are like 1.3 billion people on the earth that are Catholics. I'll get to it later. I can't find it now in my research, but so I'm like, I feel like I should know about this. And if you're an adult or a young adult or a teenager or whatever and don't know about this, then let's be better and let's learn more about the world as a whole. So anyway, jumping back in, let's talk about the role of the Pope in the Catholic Church. So the Pope is the leader of the whole Catholic Church in the whole world. It accounts for about 1.3 billion people worldwide. They call it the Roman Catholic Church, but it's not just in Rome, it's the whole world. The Pope is seen to have full and supreme power of jurisdiction over the universal church in matters of faith and morals, as well as church discipline and government. The Pope lives in Vatican City and traditionally lives in the Vatican Palace. The Pope is elected to his position by doing the Conclave procedure, which is what the whole movie Conclave is about. This is where the cardinals gather to vote for the next Pope. They choose from among their fellow cardinals. There are several rounds of voting until they get a majority vote. I think it's 2/3. So, throughout history, here's kind of like the full history of the papacy. I mean, full as in I have 4 bullet points, so a concise history of the papacy. So there has been 260 popes since St. Peter. Rome has been a historically important place for the papacy because Peter and Jesus were both killed there for the sake of the kingdom. In 1929, the fascist government of Italy created Vatican City and granted the papacy formal sovereignty over that territory. So think of it, it's like Washington. What I think of it as is Washington, D.C. of Rome. Wait, now hold on. Now I have another question. Is there... I don't think so. Is there a governor or mayor over Washington, D.C.? The mayor, D.C.'s chief executive, functions as a governor, county executive, and mayor. No way. I didn't know that. So, not... This is so confusing. This hurts my brain. Yeah. Again, this is not a TED Talk. This is me fumbling through this, and we're gonna learn together, okay? So, yeah, so let's not stop comparing it to America because there's not always direct correlations. So let's just stop doing that. So from 1929 to now, which honestly is not that long ago, I did not realize Vatican City was not that old. It seems like it should be like, the name Vatican City just seems very old. So yeah, the Pope has formal sovereignty over the territory. John the, let's see, X is 10, right? John the 13th? Or no, the 23rd? We're going to go with that, because I'm not looking up everything. John the 23rd, which sounds just not, doesn't roll off the tongue very well, made the College of Cardinals international. The cardinals vote for the new pope when necessary and are heads of Catholic areas around the world. Cardinals are the senior members of the Catholic Church's clergy. The clergy is like all the bishops. Pretty sure. Like all the archbishops and all that. The cardinals will also serve as advisors to the Pope. Paul the VI imposed the regulation that cardinals older than 80 cannot vote for a new pope, which I think that's a good idea. I mean, at that point, maybe you're not super sound in order to make that kind of crazy decision. Because one thing I saw in the Conclave movie, which I wonder how accurate it is like people will... It's very interesting because it's within their own group and they are like severed off from all of society until they can come to a decision. It's very like, to me it's very what's like a TV show that does that? Like, I think of the stupid Mr. Beast videos that I watch because only because I watch Cody Co videos. I know, crucify me. I love him and Kelsey. Where they have to like create a leader among themselves, which these people, the Cardinals, know themselves very well. The Mr. Beast people don't know each other at all, but it just seems to me like very strange. It seems like, why would you not like, which, like, I just keep trying to compare it to the presidency, and that's just not what it is. And it's not similar to like pastors. It's just all, it's its own thing. So yeah, they close themselves off from society for days. I don't know if it ever goes to weeks. I don't know. But in the movie, I think they had 5 rounds of voting. And basically what starts to happen is after the first couple rounds, if they are the ones that are running or if they are supporting someone like loyally and they realize they're not doing well, then they get within their friends and they're like, okay, who are we going to support? Because this person's clearly not going to win. So we need to figure out who we're all going to support in the next round. So that way, someone at least that I trust, maybe not my first choice, but someone that I trust can be the Pope. Because usually they have, in the movie, they had like, well, in the movie, all the ones that were like front runners were, you know, sinful in some way, which everybody is, but, you know, controversial in some way. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. They just kind of like keep doing rounds of voting and things kind of shift as the days go on. And it's very interesting kind of how that goes. To me, I guess oh, and then there's like a dean, at least in the movie. Again, I would hope that this is accurate. But there's a dean of the Cardinals that kind of like oversees the whole election process. But yeah, so it's very, somehow after several rounds of voting, they, one becomes the majority with 2/3 majority, and they become the Pope. So Pope Francis was born in Buenos Aires on December 17th, 1936, to two Italian immigrants. His birth name is Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He graduated either technical school or high school as a chemical technician. He was going to be a chemist, but then chose the path of priesthood. He entered the diocesan seminary of Villa Devoto, or Via Devoto, I don't really know. So then, after seminary, he graduated with a degree in philosophy from the Colegio de San Jose in San Miguel in 1963. Right out of college, he taught literature and psychology at a couple of different colleges. Then he went back to Colegio de San Jose in 1967 to obtain a theology degree. In 1969, so 2 years later, he was ordained as a priest and trained at the University of Alcalá de Henares. And it was there, I think that he studied under their Jesuit School of Philosophy, because it was there in 1973 that he made his final profession with the Jesuits. So later that year, he actually became the provincial of the Jesuits in Argentina and held that office for 6 years. So the provincial of the Jesuits means that he was the leader, the regional leader of Argentina, of the Jesuits. After he held that office for 6 years, he went back to teaching in universities for over 10 years. Now we're to 1992, and here's where it gets tricky. Basically, I don't know anything about the Catholic Church, so a lot of these titles feel like the same to me, but they probably have different roles, but that's not for me to even try to pretend that I understand. So we're just going to say them, I'm going to describe them as best I can, and then we're just going to move on. So in 1992, he was appointed Bishop of Aca, don't ask me what that is, and Auxiliary of Buenos Aires. So I'm assuming Aca is a country, like a small country or a big city or something. So I think when it says Auxiliary of Buenos Aires, because it means auxiliary I have in my notes, it says auxiliary means a bishop of a district. So maybe he was just the bishop of a section of Buenos Aires. But then it says in 1993, he was appointed Episcopal Vicar of the Flores district and Vicar General of the of Buenos Aires, because the Episcopal Vicar just basically means he oversaw the neighborhood of the Flores district. He would have been underneath the leadership of the Archbishop of Buenos Aires. So he's just focusing on one small neighborhood. So somehow the Auxiliary of Buenos Aires, and I would assume that means that he was the Auxiliary of Buenos Aires. He just had a district within Buenos Aires, and that district was the Flores district. That's what I'm going to assume. And the Vicar General just means the right-hand man. So he was basically the small bishop of Flores district, but also the right-hand man of the Bishop of Buenos Aires or Argentina or something like that. Then, so that was in 1993. He held that office for a couple years. In 1997, he became the coadjutor Archbishop of Buenos Aires. So basically that just means, it's kind of like vice president. He's the designated successor of the Archbishop. So he's the coadjutor Archbishop of Buenos Aires. The following year is when he succeeded Cardinal, I'm going to pronounce it, Quarencio, and became the Archbishop of Argentina. So guys, he graduated with a theology degree in 1967. Oh, quick math. Okay. 30 years later. Okay, I guess that's a long time. It just seems quick when you're reading it like this. But yeah, 30 years later, he is now the Archbishop of Argentina. Okay, I'm glad I did that math because that was seeming to go by so fast. But he did take a 10-year break in that span of 30 years to teach in universities. But so basically from 1992 to 1997, he went from just like a bishop of a small part of a city of Argentina to becoming the Archbishop of Argentina. So I feel like that's a fast jump. Because, like, at least in normal politics, there's, like, term limits and things like that. He seemed to just, like, jump the ranks like crazy. I assume it's because he had good rapport with his people and seemed to be good at his job. So, being the Archbishop of Argentina, he actually had to have that role for a couple years before he was made an official cardinal. He also was the Grand Chancellor of the Catholic University of Argentina. While he was there, he wrote 3 books. I was not about to type them up because they're in a different language, and I'm not trying to read those out loud, because I'm already butchering so many things. So the Grand Chancellor of the Catholic University of Argentina, that role goes hand in hand with him being the Archbishop of Argentina. I think you have to have both, is what I'm assuming. So that was in 2001. In 2005, because he was a cardinal, he was a part of the Conclave when Pope Benedict the 16th was elected. And that pope was actually the first pope in 600 years? Hold on. I want to say in 600 years to resign from Pope instead of, just dying. I'm going to fact check that really quick. Pope Benedict XV1 resignation. Oh, due to declining health, he retired. He retired on February 28th. Oh, the first in centuries. Okay. That was the first pope to resign without external pressure since 1294. That is crazy. And it was due to his health declining. But even after the 1294, the next recent pope to resign at all, instead of just dying, was in 1415. That is crazy. So Pope Benedict the 16th resigned on February 28th, and then not even 30 days later, Pope Francis was declared pope on March 13th of 2013. 3/13/13. So, being the pope for Pope Francis, there's a lot of firsts. He was the first Jesuit pope. He was the first pope from South America, and he was the first pope named Francis. And what I didn't realize is that the popes chose their name. That was kind of a significant part of the Conclave movie, and it like usually has a really strong, significant meaning to them. And so yeah, that was really interesting to find that out. So if we're looking at the life of Pope Francis in his papacy, there are some major themes when it came to how he ruled as Pope. So he was really big on social justice. So he expanded rules for internal policing of the Catholic Church and prosecuting sex abuse cases. Now, I understand, let's put another preface on this section of it. I saw in my research there is some controversy when it comes to the Catholic Church as a whole, but also Pope Francis's time in office as the Pope. But I don't want to speak ill of the dead. He's cold now. God, that's morbid. But I'm like, he's barely cold. Like, he just died yesterday. So, me being not a Catholic, me really not knowing anything about him before, like, 24 hours ago, I'm not about to sit here on this podcast and, like, debate controversial topics on his papacy. But, if you're interested, look it up and see what you think. So yeah, he was really big on social justice. He did go to Canada and apologize for the Catholic Church's role in the cultural genocide of indigenous tribes. I thought that was really interesting. He was really big on climate change. So he recognized climate change as a global problem with significant consequences, but he tied it to consequences for the poor. He said that the poorer nations who haven't contributed as much to the climate pollution of the world should get help from developed countries to create sustainable development, which I think is very interesting. And I don't feel like many developed countries would really get on board with that. I guess depending on who's in office. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then, which I'm realizing, like, the role of the Pope is really just to be like, hey, this is what I believe. And it's like, here's my influence on the world. But he doesn't really have much power when it comes to, like, global politics, which I guess I thought he did because so many politicians go see him. So yeah, so he can share whatever he wants. And yeah, he might get a lot of Catholics who, are influenced by him, but really, like, he doesn't really have much of a say in what happens in the world. So, and then finally, the last major thing that I really saw was marginalized groups in society. So he had this quote about homosexual people. Well, okay, sorry. He had this quote about marginalized groups in society. He wrote this in his autobiography. Everyone in the church is invited, including people who are divorced, including people who are homosexual, including people who are transgender. So his role, or his mindset for these groups of people, and specifically homosexual people, he said, or the research stated, that he maintained homosexual acts were sinful, but allowed priests to bless same-sex couples. He did not change any doctrine regarding gay people, but said that we are all sinners and that no sinner is worse than another. And so I think, thinking about, like, conversations that I've had with other Christians and people who are not Christians, but, talking about God's view on homosexuality, I think he kind of had this mindset of, like, okay, is, having sexual relationships with the same sex a sin, yes, but I'm not going to allow, or I'm not going to say that he can't bless these people because they're sinners, because we're all sinners. That would be like saying, oh, this man and wife should not be blessed by the priest because they are gossips, or they are liars, or they are this or that. So that's what I kind of feel like is his mindset when it comes to speaking on this. And I guess when it says he didn't change any doctrine, that is so interesting to think that, like, because the Catholic Church is such a global system, that they would have doctrine that is maybe outside of the Bible of just how the church government is run. And so it's strange to think of a religious leader having that kind of influence on the religion, but me being in Christianity, I really don't see that. I mean, you have like your own specific church. I don't know if doctrine would really be the right word for it. I always thought of doctrine as the Bible. But I don't know. This has just been really interesting learning more about the Catholic Church. So finally, we can get into his death. So I'm going to read the announcement that was made on his death. It says, "Dearest brothers and sisters, with deep sorrow I must announce the death of our Holy Father Francis. At 7:35 a.m. this morning, the Bishop of Rome, Francis, returned to the house of the Father. His entire life was dedicated to the service of the Lord and his church. He taught us to live the values of the gospel with fidelity, courage, and universal love, especially in favor of the poorest and most marginalized. With immense gratitude for his example, as a true disciple of the Lord Jesus, we commend the soul of Pope Francis to the infinite merciful love of the one and triune God." So, leading up to his death, in February of this year, Pope Francis was admitted to the hospital for bronchitis. It gradually got worse, and he was eventually diagnosed with bilateral pneumonia a couple of days later. He ended up spending 38 days in the hospital. That is so wild. And I think because of his age and because of his I mean, obviously he probably has any money he could ever need, but also like how pivotal he is to the world, they're gonna err on the side of caution with that. But I mean, I know people that have those diagnoses can stay in the hospital for a long time, especially being older. His official cause of death was a cerebral stroke, which led to a coma and irreversibly cardiocirculatory collapse. I don't super know what that means. That makes me think that he had a heart attack. Cardiocirculatory. Let's see what Google says that is. Guys, I'm learning all new words. What is irreversibly cardiocirculatory collapse? The final stage of cardiovascular failure. So it was stroke and heart failure. Okay. The causes of that could be severe heart failure, cardiac arrest, or a stroke. So stroke was how he died. What I really loved was that in his will, he asked that his tombstone be simple and, not ornately decorated or anything. And then, like, all of the money that people would spend to, hold on. Let me look this up again because Francis' death wishes. He asked for a simple burial. There was something about people coming. He didn't want people to he wanted to be buried in Rome and not at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. Why are all of these like such bad sources? I don't really want to use these. He wants the only inscription on his tombstone to be Franciscus. Oh gosh, how do you pronounce this? Franciscus? Franciscus. Good. Yeah. Franciscus. There was something about he didn't want people to travel or something. The money they might have saved for his funeral to charitable causes instead. That just really shows to me like what his legacy is going to be, just humility and even like he was one of the biggest names in this generation's history. And I didn't even write this down. He chose to not live in the Vatican palace. He instead lived in like a guest house or like an apartment or something on the property, I think. So he just like his whole theme of being Pope was just like, what can I do for others? What can I do for the less fortunate? What can I do for those who have no say, like the earth and things like that? So, I am not Catholic. I'm, not led by him, but I feel like he's someone to be an inspiration to others. And I think he lived a very full life. He traveled to many countries, meeting Catholics all over the world, and had a very impactful life on Catholic history. So yeah, that is all I have on that. Whew, that took forever to record, and it's going to take forever to edit. But yeah, that's kind of it on that. Let's get into the third wheel. Honestly, guys, I have been so extremely busy these last 7 days since I recorded last. I have been spending so much time with friends, so much time with family, that really boys are kind of the last thing on my mind. I even like my guy friends that I've been talking about lately, like I haven't really even been texting them that much. I haven't seen them in person in a while. So I'm doing good. I really want to just make more time for my friends because I think whenever I'm sitting alone in my apartment for too long, that's when I really start to be like, man, I really wish I could hang out with them and all that. So if I keep myself busy, it doesn't really affect me as much about like maybe how lonely I feel or whatever. So yeah, I don't really have much on that. It's funny, the two guy friends that I do have, one is very like, yeah, you're right. I can see that. And then the other one's like, it feels like he just has to disagree with everything I say. And we have a really good conversation about it most times, but they're very, very different. And each one of them has, like, there are different scenarios where I want their response. So it's been funny and interesting. So, yeah, not much on that front, but sorry guys, I thought when I made this segment that I would be like going on wild dates and like having crazy stories, but I've been pretty tame. I don't know if I've shared this story yet, but I almost went on a date with a man who was on probation for a crime that was, if done to me, would possibly be life ending or definitely life altering. I probably wouldn't leave my house ever again if it happened to me. So it kind of has deterred me from meeting new people and dating and all that. So who knows what will happen next with this segment. Media roundup. Let's see. Okay, let's do music. I don't know why I started with that, because I don't think I have anything new. Do I? I kind of updated my playlist, but mostly because I felt like I didn't have everybody's music. Like, I want to have, like, every song by, like, all my favorite artists. I've just been really in my, okay. Actually, I'm going to share. I always love No Big Deal, especially his, slower case album. I don't know, it tickles my soul in the right way. I love it. One person that I cannot get enough of is, I don't know how to say her name, Cece Winans, I think. She has this album that's a live album, and she is just a gorgeous black gospel singer, and I just want to hear everything. Every song. Oh my gosh, she has a new single? Guys, oh my gosh, I'm gonna sit here and add all of these freaking songs. I just love a good live gospel song. Wow. Oh my gosh, she's been going for a long time. Yeah, I'm gonna have to add these songs because that's crazy. She's older than I thought. Ooh, she has a new album from last year? Oh, yeah. Adding these songs immediately. She's just such a gorgeous singer. Oh, this makes me want to listen to all these songs right now. This one came out the year I was born. That's crazy. Anyway, love her right now. Movies wise, I watched Conclave. Overall, it kind of helped me to, like, see it in action, that whole process, because of this podcast I was doing. But guys, it was boring. It was marketed as a thriller. I was nowhere near the edge of my seat for that movie. I don't know. They would be like, here's this big plot twist as to why this cardinal should not be elected as pope, or should not be, like a runner in the race. And I'm just like, okay. And Stanley Tucci is in this movie, and he makes this quote. It's a very paraphrased quote, I'm going to say. And it's like, now this is starting to feel like a presidential election. And I'm like, yeah, like, nothing to me was shocking. I'm gonna put some spoilers in here, so if you want to watch this movie, I would just stop listening now. There's not really gonna be much that you're gonna miss out on after this. But, like, one of the reasons was that the cardinal got a girl pregnant. He was 30, she was 19, and now she's, like, on his doorstep asking for money and stuff, like, so many years later. Wrong-ish wrong for leaving that child, but, like, she was of age, even though, like, the gap was really wide. Now, I mean, they made it seem like maybe it was rape, maybe, or at least coercion. I don't know. But that's what that was. And the other one was like, he shouldn't be elected because he paid for his votes within the clergy. And it's like, yeah, that crap happens all the time in politics. Which, I get it. It's, like, supposed to be a religious thing, so people are supposed to be, like, good. And obviously. But it's like, guys, come on. Like, this isn't, like, thrilling on the edge of my seat. The final bit was, like, the one who ended up becoming Pope in the movie, they found out later. So like the whole movie is following this one they're following the dean of like the clergy of the cardinals, and some dude like his right hand man or something is like, this bishop came from nowhere. He's not even on the list. I don't know how he got in this party, type of a thing. And he's the dean is like, it's fine. Like, I'm not trying to like dig into people's secrets. Like, God's will be done. And he keeps pestering him throughout the whole movie. Like, we really need to look into this guy. I found his medical records and something seems fishy. And like the Pope like paid for something for him and it just seems weird. And he's like, no, stop bothering me. I have work to do. And like you're not supposed to like coerce me into like which way I'm gonna vote. I can't remember if that guy ended up voting for the dude or not who ended up winning. I think he voted for himself at some point. I don't know if at the last moment he voted for him in that 5th round of voting, but um he ended up finding out after the fact that he became Pope that the dean found out that something weird um in his medical history. And so he went to him. I wish I remembered his name. I probably couldn't even pronounce it. He was like, what's this about? And the guy who's the new pope goes, well, I was about to have an appendectomy, and when they went in to remove my appendix, they found they found ovaries and a uterus. And so they took that out as well. I had a full hysterectomy. But he's a man, and so that is very controversial as the Pope to be of someone like that. And so I'm going to look that up real quick because I really don't know much about that. What is it called when a man is born? I'm not going to say these words out loud. Oh, they are intersex. They may have traits of both sexes. Interesting. So he was born intersex, but he had a full hysterectomy in the movie, so now he's, I guess, strictly a man. But the guy was like, oh, no, hold on, wait. I'm getting this wrong. Those of you that probably watched it were like, wait, no, you're saying it wrong. So he was about to have a hysterectomy, and then he like prayed on it, and he felt like getting a hysterectomy was butchering up what God had created inside him. And so the dean, it was kind of like, man, I really should have looked into this because maybe we wouldn't have elected him as Pope. Let me see if there's like a central message to this movie, because I kind of felt like once it was over, I was like, wait, what is going on? Because this movie won Best Screenplay Adaptation at the Oscars. Okay, so according to Screen Rant, the real meaning of Conclave is about the inner turmoil and unsettledness of the cardinals, who all come with different views and how they can become a united front for their parishioners. I think that's how you pronounce it. Parishioners. So I just think it is so crazy that this movie came out. Which, when did this movie come out? When did Conclave come out? October of last year. And then, 6 months later, the Pope dies? It's like, dang, you're really I really feel like history kind of predicts the future sometimes and kind of prepares us for what's going to happen. That's kind of out coming out of my butt. I don't really have any because I know that because of this movie. It just seems like a weird coincidence. I mean, Pope Francis was getting up there in age, but I think it is crazy that that movie comes out and then not even a year later, they're actually having to do a conclave. So, yeah. TV wise, I haven't been watching a ton of TV. I have been super in my New Rockstars era of watching all of the like explanation videos of I've been watching all the New Rockstars videos of like the Thunderbolts movie, of like Doomsday, of the new Fantastic Four movie. I've really been like preparing for all those things. And so I haven't really been watching much TV. I'm literally still on Housewives of New York. I don't think I've even gone past another episode, genuinely. So yeah, it's mostly been spending time with family this week and friends. And I've been doing worship a lot more for the youth at my church, so that takes up my Tuesday and Wednesday nights. So I don't really get a ton of time to read. I did start a book called The Wedding People. It is my book club book. The Wedding People. Who's it by? It is by Allison Espach, or Espach. It's a New York Times bestseller. 4.1 stars on Goodreads. So we shall see. I think I've read like 3 pages. So my friend just texted me and said that she really likes it so far. Still, I haven't made any progress with Wicked. I did watch some behind the scenes stuff of Wicked that my grandma had taped back from November of last year. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, guys, it's been real. This episode, I'm interested to see how it turns out because you guys don't even know. I'm on almost 2 hours of recording because of all the times that I had to like stop and just like say everything again, but in a more clear way. So if you're already like, crap, this is like really hard to follow, imagine how it was before the edits. So my brain is mush. Do I understand the Catholic Church a lot better? Yeah. Could I teach a class on it? No. I have a lot of questions. So maybe I should have asked my grandparents this weekend more. But I didn't know the Pope was going to die. I literally came up with this theme yesterday. So, anyway. So yeah. That is my episode this week. I hope you guys have a great, great week. And I'll see you next week.